Hello, everyone. It's Stacy Tucker. How are you doing today? I had a few things that we were going to chat about, so welcome, settle in. I'm glad you're here. This, I'm feeling, is going to be a high level conversation between you and me. High level. So settle in, grab yourself a drink, and let's have a chat because I, first of all, wanted to just give a little shout out to my new Oracle deck, which is so exciting. The creation codes premiered late in June, and so I'm just getting rolling, promoting my deck that I created with my dear friend and colleague Micah Blaze. She did all the artwork, and also a lot of her wisdom is in this as well. And I wrote the exercises and the cards and such, and she collaborated on the exercises as well. So yes, it was a mutual collaboration. Creation codes right there. So I'm going to be working a lot with them in the next couple of weeks, pulling some cards and helping you get familiar with the deck. And if you're so inclined, it is finally available on Amazon, which is great because I actually started my own publishing company to make this deck happen, right? A lot of the traditional publishing avenues are very slow and have a few barriers to getting your things done and done in a timely manner. So, like Elon Musk, I thought I'm just going to do it my damn self. And that's what I did. So, I created Starseed Media LLC, which is now my publishing slash media company. And I can't wait to create more and watch it evolve into something amazing. So you've heard it here first, Starseed Media, which I just secured the domain for as well. So stay tuned for all of the wonderful things that are going to be happening. Because as creatives, we want to make things. We want to put them out in the world and share them and hopefully have them resonate with others and create a community where we can share and interact and grow and use each other's tools and learn from other people in the same space or in a completely different space. And so that is one of my goals for Starseed Media, is to have it grow into a community tool where people are able to create their own things. But that's down the line. I'm just creating my own right now. So creation codes, which you will learn more about as time goes on. So I thought I would pull a card and work through one of the exercises, which we are going to do. But even before that, I want to tell you a story because I do a lot of highway driving. I'm in between Connecticut and Rhode Island these days, which is fine and is fine. But 2 days ago, I was on the highway and I saw the most horrendous accident with animals. And I'm a huge animal lover. And I'm not going to go into the details because it was very graphic and very sad. And it took me, and when I talk about it, I cry. So I really don't want to go into it. But it had such an impact on my emotional state, as you can see. And it got me thinking, because I'm always I've gotten to a point in my spiritual growth and in my personal life and whether it be, yes, all the spiritual work I've done or menopause or getting older or who knows what it is, but at some point in your life, you start to look at events differently, right? It's not just victim mentality. It's not just things happening to you. You question everything and you question, why did this XYZ happen? Why did this happen? And so when I saw this horrible thing on the highway, 2 days ago, I, after a day of tears, I, I, I want to know why that I wasn't involved in any way except to witness it. And my question goes back to that age old question that everyone asks: why do bad things happen to good people? And this wasn't a bad thing happening to me. It's different. I was removed from it. It was just something I saw, but it affected me so deeply because I am an animal lover. And yes, this, just to give you small details, it was so bizarrely, and a family of ducks was crossing the highway. I mean, come on, right? And the babies were just following their mother, and they got mowed down by this car. And I was there, right there. I was there and I saw it, and it was so terrible. But anyway, um, so that's my question, right? My question is, why do these things happen, and why was that senseless thing? Why did that even happen? First of all, and secondly, why was I there to see it? Why, right? And so that's been my question for the past 2 days. That goes back to that question that so many people ask: why do bad things happen to good people? And I'm separating the two of, yes, I saw this bad thing happen and it was tragic, and but yes, this, it doesn't compare to your mom having cancer, right? Like I'm not putting the two of those things in the same bucket, because my mother did have cancer and she did die of cancer. And so I've gone through that as well. So I'm not saying that those two things are remotely comparable, because they're not. But as I sit here in my reality of what is happening in my life right now, this happened. And so I'm asking, in this moment, why did this thing happen? Right. Right. So I've always been a student of psychology, and I love human potential, and I love art, the whole concept of archetypes, and Carl Jung's work I find so amazingly fascinating, and symbolism, and how everything in our life is a reflection of our consciousness. And I try and live by that, because I think that is very true. And so if that is the case, then if everything in our exterior reality is a reflection of our interior self, which I do believe that is true. What is inside me that caused me to witness this horrendous thing on the highway? What is inside me, right? And so I've been trying to do some soul searching about that, because I'm, like I said, I'm at this point in my spiritual life that I recognize this, and I want to know, like, I want to get to the truth. So there's a few things that I've come up with, right? There's the theory that everything in our consciousness that is happening around us is a reflection of our deep-seated belief of our separation from God. And it's a belief that is erroneous, because you cannot be separated from God. But in our dense reality of the third dimension, everything is separation. It's part of the dimension that we live in, is everything is separate. You are one separate person, and right, everything is separation. And it's fed to us that that is true. But as you go on your spiritual path, you start to embody and change your beliefs to the concept of oneness. And we are all one consciousness, and just fragments and holograms of each other and the world itself. And that, the whole unity consciousness and that idea of oneness, is growing, and it's slow. And it is a belief that I believe in, right? And so this incident that happened to me, or happened that I saw, at least didn't happen to me, that I saw, right, is a reflection of my thought of being separated from some trauma, right? There's trauma within me that got triggered, got activated, needed to be witnessed. The other part of it too, I thought, was these little lives that got taken out so quickly needed to be witnessed, and I was there to see them, to witness. I don't know. That was one theory I had. So I'd love to know from you what you think, right? What do you think? Why do these, what is it? Why do these things happen in our lives? And I don't want to hear the punishment from God. God is not a punisher, or karma. I don't think that is true. Karma has its place. It is a belief system, the idea of karma, but we are also evolving out of karma. Like, the days of karma are over. They're over. It's because we're evolving so much as a species. Karma gives you an out of responsibility. It's a little bit of responsibility, saying, "Oh, maybe I did something in a previous life, and now I have to repay that." And there is a bit of responsibility there, but it's not the whole responsibility, because the whole responsibility is, okay, this thing happened to me, and I need to now change. I need to now take responsibility for whatever it is that I need to take responsibility for, own up to something, change my behavior to shift into a different reality, to shift on a different path, to make some dream come true, to make something happen, to change, right? The catalyst for change. And so, was this incident on the highway a catalyst for me to change in some way? Maybe. I'm still figuring out what that is. So I would love to hear your theories about why we see these senseless acts or anything happen, and what is the point? Maybe it's the point that I'm here today talking about it with you, and we're having a conversation about trauma, right? And so with my deck, I sat with my deck in my prayer chair. Not yesterday, but the day it happened. Yesterday? I don't know, it doesn't matter. And I sat with my deck, and I was shuffling, and asking for guidance, for a card to tell me or give me guidance, or to help me with this sadness and this question, right? And there was only one card out of the 44 cards that I knew would really be the answer, right? So I already kind of knew before, and maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe another card would show up and in that moment speak to me the way I needed the guidance to come through, and that could be the case, right? But I knew there was only one card, and this was it. Dark Mother. And I pulled it. I pulled this card after shuffling some more, and then pulling a card from, I don't know if it was the top or the middle, could have been the bottom, I don't even remember. And I had to laugh because it was exactly the card I knew that I needed, because it's the trauma card. It's the trauma card, it's the wholeness card, it's the shadow card. Dark Mother, number 34. And it's right in a weird circular way. So I'm going to read this to you and see if it resonates with you, because a lot of it has to do with shadow and wholeness and darkness. And I can come up with theories all day as to why I was in that moment and saw what happened on the highway. But if I go by higher self guidance and I go by what I trust and believe in, which is what I wrote in for 44 cards, then getting Dark Mother for me is true. Is true. And so here we go. Dark Mother. You are being given the opportunity for completion of the self this lifetime, and the price is your willingness to look at the darkness within. That is the first gist of the card, and that is very relatable to what happened to me 2 days ago. That is very relatable. The darkness within. What does it mean to be whole? Does any human know because they've achieved it? Wholeness is complete acceptance of all parts of yourself with no more guilt and no more shame. It is also a willingness to work through your traumas. No more guilt, no more shame. I mean, that is a course in itself, and it's a lifetime of peeling away those petals of a flower. So many people say onion, right? The onion. I like the flower metaphor much better than the onion metaphor, right? A willingness to work through your traumas. I was so traumatized by seeing that on the highway. And so what else was it bringing up for me? What other traumas are so trapped and deep and buried that the only way that I'm going to look at them is by having an external trigger that was so horrifying that it just caused this questioning, it caused this willingness to go down this dark mother path. Here it is, dark mother path. To be curious about it. A willingness to work through your traumas. Where do you start? Right? I mean, you could be in therapy for years, which some people are, and it's effective, but there are faster, more streamlined ways than talking about the past and all of the wrongs that have been done to you and rehashing all of the wrongs. Everyone's been wronged. Everyone's been wronged. Everyone's been hurt. And a lot of therapy has to do with all of the wrongs, which has its place. But there's also an opportunity, because our world is moving so fast, there's an opportunity to cut through that, realize this is where we are, where do we want to go, taking radical responsibility for our role in whatever happened in the past. Making a commitment to change, to look at your role in everything that's happened to you in the past, acknowledge it, know you were doing the best you could in that moment with the tools that you had then. Making a commitment to get new tools, work with them, and move forward in a direction that brings you happiness and peace and relief. Like, ask yourself, what is going to bring you relief right now in your life? At this time, if you are stressed, like, what is bringing me relief from that incident on the highway? And honestly, it's just time. And it's also I've always had a tendency to rehash, replay a scene. Something went wrong in my life, or a traumatic, or some bad experience. I loop it in my head and replay it over and over. And something about this incident, yes, I replayed it over my head just to cry and cry and cry. But then I knew that that was just the wrong thing to do. That was the wrong thing to do, looping it in my head. So it was also an exercise for me to live in the now moment, right? Live in the now moment, because relooping that scene in my head was causing me to just keep pressing that pain button, which isn't helpful. Acknowledge that it was terrible. And so here's the other part of it, right? I've always had this, like when my mom died, I felt like if I moved forward in happiness, I was doing her a disservice. Like there was something that I should be sad about because I didn't deserve to be. There wasn't, like, happiness wasn't an option. I didn't deserve to be happy because my mom died, right? That was this belief system. And so this is a very small little thing, but it's relatable, and it happens. And let me know if you do this too, right? It happens where you think, "Oh, I shouldn't move on because this was sad." Right? So this was sad and I should stay in this sadness for whatever reason, I don't know, right? And so this has been, how can I stay in the now moment, move out of the sadness faster? This happened 2 days ago, and if I think about it and replay that scene that is so vivid in my mind, I will cry. But why am I doing that to myself, right? In this now moment, that doesn't exist. That incident existed 2 days ago. It doesn't exist right now. So why am I replaying it in my head? And we do that so often, right? Like whatever happened to us happened then. It's not happening now. So the best thing you can do for yourself is stay hyper aware of this now moment. And even if it means focusing on, that's why so many people are distracted with phone games. It's just a mind numbing. I don't have to think about my life. I don't have to think about what happened 2 days ago. I don't have to think about what I'm going to do tomorrow. It's almost like it's its own warped version of being in the now moment, right? We're trying. Everyone's trying. We're trying to evolve here as people. We are trying to evolve. I lost my page. 34, the Dark Mother. Right? Where do you start to work through your traumas? We were talking about therapy. I got sidetracked. The Divine Mother has many faces and is limitless in her forms. One of her most important roles is supporting you in facing the darkness within you. Our society has been groomed to believe darkness is bad, but it is the womb of creation. The Dark Mother waits for you there. She is there to listen and allow you to be seen in a safe place. She will protect you from overwhelm and support your desire to see what is on the other side of the dark. Wholeness is on the other side because your darkness also contains your traumas. It's interesting. I've been taking art classes online with amazing Jane Davenport. Anyone who wants to take an art class, a whimsical face, figure, fashion, art. Oh my God, Jane Davenport, love you. But she said something that has stuck with me on a deeper level. She's talking about art, and she talks about there is color in the shadows. There is color in the shadows. That is brilliant from a psychological perspective, right? I get she's saying, because she always shadows with purple, and it's beautiful and amazing, and her colors are divine, and I can only hope to be half as good as she is someday. She's amazing. But to hear those words really stuck with, there is color in the shadows, and that from a psychological perspective, from a spiritual perspective, think of that and look at your shadows differently. Look at your shadows as the color of your life. How vanilla and boring would you be without your shadow side, right? If everybody's, and no one wants to show their shadow side because we've been told it's bad, but it's the fun part, right? And it's what we love to watch movies about, and the bad girl and whoever else, and your wild side, the wildness of your shadow side. And I also, to continue with the shadow conversation, I took an amazing workshop with Anadea Judith, who is amazing, and she is a psychologist. She lives in California, and it was about female archetypes and female leadership and strong females, in which I'm all about. And during the shadow session, she said something also that was brilliant, that has stayed with me. And she said the shadow is an outward manifestation of an unmet need. Brilliant. Succinct, simple, easy to understand. An unmet need. It can go, I mean, it goes deeper than that, right? And you have to really dive into that. But just let that sink in and think about that in your own life. Where have your needs not been met? And let's just make a laundry list, right? A million, right? And it comes from childhood, right? So where were your needs not met in childhood? And just, they were allowed to just sit dormant and get just dumped on for how long in your life? How long have your core needs not been met? So that's one question. And two is the color of your shadow, right? The color, the brilliant color that is in your shadow. Look at that. Try and look at it that way. The color that is in your shadow. And I'm going to do a shadow. I should do a shadow workshop, because there's so much depth and material. If you're a creative, if you're a writer, if you're an artist, there's so much material. That's where all the material actually comes from, right? I mean, no one cares about goody two shoes, right? No one cares about the light, but that's not true. I mean, the light is important for sure, right? The light, people are attracted to your, people aren't attracted, well, people can be attracted to your shadow, but people are attracted to your light, right? And so how is your light being dusted over as well, right? There's that question too. There's so many questions, and just the conversations roll. And I don't want to make this too long because it's already a half hour, right? So I'm going to come back to those and maybe make some shorter reels or something about thinking about those questions, because they're so brilliant and they're such a big part of your subconscious and who you are as a person, and you might not ever give them a thought, right? So I'm asking you today to give these ideas and questions a thought, and some time and some breathing room and journaling, and thinking of, not just thinking about them, but where can you start to shed some of that light onto these parts of yourself that have been hidden for too long, and it's just making you sad, right? Where are you feeling sad because these vital parts of you are screaming for air, for to be painted, to be seen, to be celebrated? You know? Yeah. There's definitely more things that I could talk about with that. Like, one is the book series that I wrote, which I loved and poured myself into, but there were shadow aspects of myself in there that, when they came out into the world, were looked upon very poorly, and I was really lambasted for them in those books, and that was quite a road. I will save that for another time to talk about because it's important, right? Because we as creatives, we put our things out there and they contain so much of our core selves. So when they're ripped to shreds by some person who really doesn't care, is just whatever, then it really affects us as creatives. And so there needs to be a disconnect when you're releasing your art into the world. And so we'll talk about that another time. But getting back to the Dark Mother, I won't go through the whole thing because it's long, but I'm just going to leave you with a few more words. Wholeness is on the other side of the darkness, because your darkness also contains your traumas. How many wounds do you carry because they were too painful to process? How many wounds do you carry because they were too painful to process? And I can only say, right, if I'm making it up here, if I'm making my life up as I go, that what happened on the highway 2 days ago was a catalyst for me to process some trauma within, right? That's the only thing that I can come up with, because I don't have another answer as to why I had to see that. I don't. So for myself, this is what I'm going with. And the fact that I pulled Dark Mother when I knew this was the only card that was going to remotely come close to answering my question. I mean, come on. Right? How that was my answer right there. Right? So there's a whole divine exercise to go through with inviting the Dark Mother into your prayer chair, into your sacred area, your meditation spot, and having a journal nearby and going through the exercise of just starting the tip of the iceberg of trauma release, right? Because it's a road that is very long. So I will leave you with the affirmation at the end, which is: the womb of creation is the darkness, and it is my path to wholeness and completion of the self. The darkness, the shadow, the color in the shadow. So I hope this chat was helpful in some way, even if I'm just keeping you company on a Thursday afternoon. I will be back with more creation codes. More creation. Where's my there? Creation codes. I will be back promoting more of my how awesome. This was so fun. I might actually too film, kind of how it came to be and the road it took to get it from concept to actual in hand product. And I'll put the link below if you are interested in getting your own deck, because it's awesome. You should want one. It's a culmination of all of my work to date on connecting to your creativity, your higher consciousness, channeling your guides, your amazing higher self, getting more connected to you, the big you, the capital Y. Thank you for staying for 35 minutes. And I would love to know if you've got a fabulous answer to why do bad things happen to good people. I would love to know. And it can't be because God punishes, and it can't be karma. Something else, please. Thank you. Be well. And I will be back very soon. Take care. Lots of love.